Hi, my name is James Harwood. Right now we are looking at a picture of Carl Bloch. This is a self-portrait of the Danish artist who lived between 1834 and 1890, but his artwork is actually gaining quite a bit of momentum right now. One picture in particular caught my attention, and it's called Jairus' daughter. I was able to see this at an art exhibit at BYU where they brought in 40 different pictures from different museums and churches all over Denmark and Sweden. And most of these pictures, this was the very first time they were ever seen outside of their original homes. So it's quite the opportunity. But as I walked up to this one, it really caught my attention. This comes from the New Testament, Mark chapter 5. The main climactic moment from that chapter is Jesus healing Jairus' daughter. But I had to look at this and think, why did Bloch choose to represent this picture the way he did? And that really captivated me. I stood there looking at this for about 25 minutes. Because it's not just beautifully done, but he was very deliberate on how he chose to represent this picture. Now, just speaking of religious art in general, typically revolves around what is considered the climatic moment. And if it's not the climatic moment, it's either right before or right after. For example, if I look up David and Goliath, most of these pictures either show something that represents David and Goliath before or in the moment throwing the stone, or after the fact chopping off his head. And even if we look at other artists' depictions of Jairus' daughter, they're actually right there in the moment of Jesus healing Jairus' daughter, taking her hand and raising her from the dead. We go back to Bloch's version of Jairus' daughter, and we really look at this. What is going on in this picture that can give us some understanding of what we're looking at here? So if we look at the gestalt of this picture and try to figure out what's going on, we can group things together here. We've got two things happening here. We've got the mother looking down on her daughter that has passed away. And then over here in the back, we've got a group of people. We've got Jesus Christ represented back here. And this man, I presume, is Jairus, the father of the girl here. And then we've got another person kneeling that is kind of hard to see in this particular version of it. So to give a quick synopsis of what goes on in St. Mark chapter 5, Jairus comes to Jesus while Jesus is out and about and says, "My little daughter lieth at the point of death. I pray thee, come and lay thy hands on her, that she may be healed." As they're on their way, some things happen and distract him. And then somebody from Jairus' house came to him and said, "Thy daughter is dead. Why troublest thou the master any further?" Basically saying, your daughter passed away. You don't need Jesus anymore. But Jesus said to him, "Be not afraid, only believe." And they continued on. When they got to Jairus' house, people were crying and mourning Jairus' daughter, of course. Jesus basically asked him, "Why are you weeping?" He says, "The damsel is not dead, but sleepeth." And it says, they laughed him to scorn. And I'm pretty sure that's what's going on in this picture. We've got the mother with the daughter looking down at her and just mourning. And then we've got Jesus coming up and talking to people. Right after that it says, "And he took the damsel by the hand and said unto her, Talitha cumi," which is, being interpreted, "Damsel, I say unto thee, arise." So if we look at a few things that are going on in the picture with the grouping, like I was saying before, the newly passed daughter with the mother looking at her, Christ and the Father back in the background with somebody bowing. We've got a lot of light over here, but then also it draws us to the light that's back here. And this is very representative of religious art. It's brightest behind Christ's head, giving him a halo. That typically represents the holy person or the religious person in religious art. We can see red and warm colors grouped over here, and we've got blue and cool colors over here. And in a way, I think he might have used the blue, because blue is typically a heavier color, to kind of balance out the picture. Because even though this is so much more content heavy over here, so much brighter, I don't feel uncomfortable. So I think it's because the light and the blue pulls it together. The brightness also acts as a vector. It travels from the lower left-hand corner to the upper right-hand corner, carrying us along through the layers of the figure ground of what's important. It brings us along the journey of the visual hierarchy of, we know this heavier right here with more light is what's more important. But it takes us back here and lets us know, hey, this in the back of the picture is also a very important part of it. One of the things I take away from this is Christ is still an important part of what Bloch was trying to portray. I don't take it that Bloch really wanted to rely on Christ as an icon. We look at these. Christ is the icon that we always see that is healing everybody, taking them by the hand, raising her from the dead. I think he wanted to rely on the indexicality of Christ. He's not the main focus of this picture, but he's an important part. We can focus on something over here, something more of humanity that we all feel. But the indexicality of Christ is still back here. Everything's going to be all right. He's here. He's going to take care of it. This gives me a way to look at this particular story from the Bible with a new perspective. I get to focus on what this is really like. This isn't just some girl that passed away and then Christ saved. This is a daughter. There's a loving mother that is just grieving, just looking down at her daughter and feeling every bit of the pain that she should be feeling at the moment. But once again, the indexicality of Christ, we know that he's there. We know that he's coming in. We know that he's going to take care of us. So if I was to have a big takeaway from this, I really think that Bloch chose his colors deliberately. I think Bloch chose his light very deliberately. And I think he chose his figure ground layers very deliberately to show us what he wanted us to get out of this. Thank you so much for listening to me ramble on about Carl Bloch and this picture. And even if culturally the religious aspect of this picture doesn't call to you, hopefully you've gained an appreciation for what Carl Bloch was trying to portray and how he masterfully pulled it off.